Today we are continuing lesson 2 by looking at a few questions in assignment 2. So by the end of today's lesson, we will graph a given set of data and plot them on the coordinate plane, as you have on this on your assignment page, and then we'll describe any relationships or trends in the data. So we'll use two methods. One is plotting this set of data on a coordinate plane and construct a line of best fit to see if there's any relationship or trends. Then we will use either a graphing calculator to plot these points and to construct the graph. So these are also, for some of you, you may not have a graphing calculator. I'll show you how to use your phone in something called Desmos to get the same result. So by the end of today's lesson, you will be able to plot a set of data, create a regression equation. Remember, this is a scatter plot we're creating. A scatter plot, recall, is when you are showing the relationships between two sets of data. Here, in this example, we have total fat versus calories in each of these sandwiches. So we're going to create a scatter plot using the given data and then construct a line of best fit. Remember, the line of best fit is a line that goes through as many of your data points and is used to predict or to interpolate. So let's look at review what we did so far. If you go back into your booklet, as I mentioned before, scatter plot is plotting a set of data on the coordinate plane, comparing two sets of data. In the coordinate plane, we have in this case, we have our x and the y-axis. This is called a Cartesian plane, or a coordinate plane. If the trend is upwards as you increase your x, increase your y, we call that a positive correlation. The kind of a trend, if there's any. If, on the other hand, the y value decreases as the x value increases, we say it's a negative correlation or a downward trend. Now, if it's a horizontal line, as x increases, y, it doesn't change because we say that a constant relation. Constant, it doesn't change. And if the data is so scattered, you cannot see any pattern in it, as in this case, we say there's no correlation. So in the examples we will be going through today, and in the assignment questions, we will look for these trends. Is it increasing, positive correlation? Is it decreasing, negative correlation? Is it constant? The y value doesn't change? Or there's no pattern. You say there's no correlation. In the examples we did in the last lesson, we plot the data. We got example 1. We give a set of data, and then you plot the data on this graph. You give them a grid, and we label the x-axis, the y-axis. And generally speaking, the first set of data we'll use as the x coordinates, and the second is the y. But it depends. Sometimes they switch them around, and you have to be careful in how to use them. But for our lesson, you will be told which is x and which is y. Later on, you will not be told, but you'll be able to identify the x and the y coordinates by then. In this case, we have a negative correlation because the line is going downwards, a downward trend, and we constructed a line of best fit. Just recall also the quadrants are 1, 2, 3, 4. So just remember that. We also look at a positive correlation. And from this, we can be able to read off our data. And the last one, we did example 3. Be given speed over the speed limit and fines, and we plot those points. So today, we are going to do both. We'll plot these points on our paper, and then we'll construct a graph using either a graphing calculator, put that on, or you can use your phone. Now, if you don't have a graphing calculator, you can use Desmos, or I've already downloaded a graphing calculator on my phone also. I'll show you how to do that easily. So you don't have to have a physical graphing calculator, as this one I have here. You can simply download it, the same thing, on your phone. I'll just clear that. As far as I know, you need an Android phone. I'll just put this in the background here. You need an Android phone for this. So I'll show you how to do all of these. Also, I've posted on the blog a sheet on how to use the graphing calculator. And the sheet would look like this here. It's how to reset the calculator. It gives you step-by-step instruction. There's also another sheet on what a graphing calculator will look like on the screen. Also, I posted a video on how to use the graphing calculator. Let's look at the first question here. They tell you to enter the following set of information, create a scatter plot on your calculator. But before I use a calculator, let's create one physically here. So we're going to sketch this graph, and here we have our x and y coordinates. Now, because these are positive values, we don't need quadrant 2 or quadrant 3 or 4, because these are all positive. So we refer to, here we have sandwiches, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, quarter pounder, Big Mac, our sandwich special, our special with bacon. This is the total amount of fat for each one and the amount of calories. As you can see, hamburger has 9 grams of fat, 260 calories. Cheeseburgers have 13 grams of fat and 320 calories. Quarter pounder 21 and 420. A Big Mac has 31 grams of fat and 560 grams of calorie. You can see the trend here, right? Let's put that in a graph. So this will be your x coordinate, and this will be your y. Okay, so let's go ahead and so here we have total fat. So this could be your x-axis called total fat, and the y would be calories. Okay. So let's go ahead and label our x and y coordinates. So we'll have total fat here. And we put in brackets the units in a gram. And our y coordinates will be total calories. So we can say here, total calories. Now, our scale, next thing we look at our scale, we'll start from 0 here. Notice for x coordinate, the highest value here, or number of fat, is 34. So you want to go a little bit higher than 34, so we'll make it 50. So we'll scale from 0 to 50. So we can divide it up into 10. So we can have here 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And we can go a bit long if you want. Make sure these are equal increments, approximately here. This might be a little too far apart. Now our x, y values, we have 590, so we want to go up to at least 600. We can make this an increment of 100, so we have 100, 200, 300, 400. We can go 600. Now, you may have to use a ruler because there's no grid lines on this paper to plot our points. So the first hamburger is 9 grams, 260 calories. So 9 is approximately, right around here. So I'm going to go up here 9, a straight line here. And 260 calories is 250 about here. The 260 might be slightly around there. So that's our first point. 9, 260. Next one is 13, 320. So we'll have 13. So here is around 15. So 13 might be around there. So this is an approximation. We'll use our graphing calculator or Desmos to get a more precise graph. So 320 is 300 here, 350 about here, so 325 is about here. So 320 is slightly below that, so we'll make that here. Next is 21 and 420. So 21 is about here. So 420 approximately there. Next is 31. And that will take us up to 560. 550 here, so 560 should be about there. 31 also in 550. So we have two almost the same. One is slightly higher. 560. So 550 is below that. So we and the final one, 34. So here's 35. 34 is slightly below it. And that is 590. Now we'll construct a line of best fit. There's almost a perfect correlation here. So that's our graph. Describe any relationships. Notice as your x value increases, your y value increases. So we can conclude here, this is a positive correlation. Because as the amount of fat increases, the total calories increases. So that's a positive correlation. That's what that means. Now, I'll show you how to plot this on your graphing calculator. Now, I went ahead and I graphed it on the graphing calculator. This is what I ended up with. Now, I'll show you how to get to this point. Now, you have your sheet, so we'll just also here. I'll show you how to get from this set of data to the graph, which is exactly or similar to the one we have here. Okay, except you don't have any labeling on it on your graphing calculator. So you have to make a transfer. So let me, now, this is what you want to do. If you want to clear your calculator, one thing you want to do, you can press second and mode, and that will clear it. Okay, and let's clear here again, and go back to the home screen. It's called a home screen. So this one here, so. Okay, so in your instruction sheet, see what you have here. If you're using a graphing calculator, it says to reset your calculator. You may not need to do that the first time, but I'll show you how to reset your calculator so that it clears everything in your calculator. So I'll show you using the phone calculator here. So to reset your calculator, second and a plus sign, press your second button and the plus sign, and it goes to number 7. So I'll go all the way to number 7. I can press 7 or press the down arrow key. And press enter. And press 1 for all rounds. So press 1. And then you go reset. And that will clear your calculator. In other words, you will have nothing in your data. So they always get back to home. You press your second and mode, which is second and quit. The orange button refers to anything in orange here. So to get quit, you need to press second. The green alpha button refers to anything in the green. So that's your green. If you need to get solved, you press alpha. Otherwise, you just press the white. The white refers to the top. For example, I need 8. I press 8. You don't have to press second. Now, that's resetting. Now, how to enter data into your calculator. to enter data on the list, right? Now, if you look back at our data here, here's our set of data. We're able to plot them on a graph. Now, to get this set of data here into your calculator, this is the instruction here, right? Onto data on your list. So I want to put data. So press the Stat button, press 1 for edit, and enter your data L1 and L2. This will be like your X value and your Y value. Okay. So we are going to graph this in the calculator. And by the end of it all, this is what you'll end up with, which is exactly like that. So let's get to this here. So now I want to plot the set of data. So I'm going to follow my instructions here. So it says here to press the Stat button first. Let's get this out. So I press the Stat button, which is this one here. And you'll end up with this screen here. You want to press 1 or press Enter. It says here, press 1 for edit. I press the 1 for edit. I'll go a little bit slower so you can follow. So I press 1 and I press Enter. So a little bit up here. Press my Enter button. Now you have L1 and L2. Now this will be L1, your total fat, and this will be L2. So now I enter each one by pressing, let's say, this on L1, I put 9, then press Enter. 13, press Enter. 21, press Enter. Now, if you were to make a mistake, now next one is 31. Let's say I put 34 here. I made a mistake. Now I want to go back up. I press my up arrow, clear it, and I can now put my current value, which is 31. Then another 31 and 34. Next, I want to move over to my L2, which is your Y values. So I just press this right arrow key, and that will move immediately over to it. This is the key you'll press. So if I put back my, and this is where I will be, and I want to move over here, press my right arrow key. Next, enter your L2 set of data, or your Y values, so 260. Enter 320, enter 420, enter 560, 550, and 590. Now, that will be entering our data in the list. So we have done that part. Now, Once you enter this, you'll end up with some kind of a graph. But where is that graph? Right. Now, if you look over here, you see the button that says graph, upper right-hand corner here. If I were to press graph, here's my Cartesian plane, but there's nothing in it. You have your x-axis here, your y-axis. But if you were to count these up to 10 here, and this goes up to -10, +10, and -10 on the y-axis. Here's 0, the origin, the center. But our data, actually, x goes up to 34, and the y goes up to 590. We don't need any of these negatives. Also, we don't see any of these points plotted. If you look at my graph here, you can see I have all these points plotted. Question is, how did I end up doing this? So let's see how you go about doing it. The next step is to turn on your stat plot. Stat plot meaning you're going to make these points visible. In other words, your plot of your points here that we plotted on the graph paper, we're going to make it visible. So you press your second button, which is this one here. Press your second button and your y equal button. And you arrive at the screen here. Now it tells you now press enter to choose on. So all we have to do is just press enter. Press your enter button here and press enter one more time. So now it moves from off to on, press graph, but I still don't see my points. And this is where you're going to change your windows. In other words, the point is somewhere over here, but we can't see it because our window now, it's too limited. It only goes up to 10 and 10 up here, and we don't need any of the negatives. So we're going to set our window. I'm going to set a maximum minimum. So we need a minimum of 0 here, a maximum of 34. So we want to put a maximum, could be make it 50. Remember, we had our graph here, we make it 70. So we can do that same thing. And also we make our y maximum 600. So we'll repeat this. So let's go back here. So now we're going to change the window setting. So we're going to make this graph, we're going to remove these two negatives here, the x negative and y negative, and we will remain with the quadrant 1. So removing quadrants 2, 3, and 4, and we will be left with quadrant 1. To do that, we need to press the window button, which is this button here. So let's press the window button, and the window button comes up. You'll see the x minimum, y minimum, scale, etc. What we want to change is our x minimum. We want to make it 0, and our x maximum. So let's show you what I'm referring to. If we go back to our graph, we have our x coordinate being up to 70. So we want it, and 0 is a minimum. So we'll make that minimum 0. Let's move it over here. So we'll make that 0 by pressing 0. That's all you have to do, and that remove it. So that is removed from the -10 to 0. Next, we want our maximum to be 70. So we can make it 100, but I'll make it, we can make it 50. Let's make it 50 for now. Doesn't matter, we can make it 70. And our y minimum, we didn't go below the y axis here, so there's no negative y, we make that 0. And the x maximum, our y values, we make that 600. Okay. So there you are. I'm gonna So these are my instructions. I'll make sure I got them all. So here I have my Windows setting all done. Okay. So our next step is to press the graph to see what it looks like. So press the graph, and there is our set of data. Okay. So now we are on this step here. The next, how to determine the regression equation. Now we need to get a line through here. That's what I have in my graphing calculator here. We need a line. Now we've plotted the points. Look, they're nice, even, they're correlated really well. We need to plot our points. And this will go on to how to determine the regression equation. So now, after you enter L1 and L2, turn on the stat plot and change your Windows setting, which we've just done. Now we are going to get our graph. So we're going to follow the instructions here. Next step is to press your stat button. This is one right here. So press your stat button, and you'll have the screen comes up. Then we move over to the calc. So I'm going to move over to the right here. To get here, I press my right arrow button. So here we have our stat button. We move over to the calc. Once you move over to the calc, CALC, see a list of regressions. The one we would like is number 4, linear regression, straight line, AX plus B. So press 4, it says here, or press your down arrow key if you would. Put up to 4 and then press enter. Now that's your equation or regression equation. Okay. So there you have your regression equation. Now if you were to go down now, okay, now we need to get this into our, you can write this equation down. That's your equation, y equals 13. Now, is mx plus b is a straight line, which is 13 is for the a, and the b is 144. You could literally put this into your graph, in your calculator. Now, if I go to graph, I still don't see my line. Now, how do I get my line there? I have to go to my y equal button. So let's go back here. So I have this all down. I got my calc. I go to my linear. Now, if this happens, I don't have to restart this. Okay, now, okay, back to my, okay, make sure I got this all right here. So I've got calc, go back into, so clear that. So there's my equation. I press my, now my next step is press my y equal button, press the vars button. So I press, next is to press y equal button, then go to the vars button, which is down here. Then you go to statistics. Or you can go to y-vars. You can go to y-vars. And press function, press enter. And there would be our equation. Press graph. Oh, no, it didn't work. Let's see here. Okay, let's clear that. Let's go back again. Vars. Sorry about that. Statistics. You can do this to EQ. There's our equation. Press graph. So let's do this again. I'm going to clear this here. Let's try this again. Let's go back to press your stat button, go to calc, then go down to number 4. Press enter, then press your Y button. Make sure it's clear, nothing's in here. Press your vars button, go down to stat, then go to EQ. Press enter, and then press graph. There's your regression equation. We'll do this another time, another example, and that's where you end up with your graph. So that's using the TI-83 or 84. And if you have a literal calculator, it would be the same thing here. You end up with the same values. Now, on the blog, I also have another sheet that you can follow, step-by-step instructions on how to do exactly what I showed you here. So you will see a linear regression on TI-83. So look at the blog, go to the blog, and you'll find this sheet on it. Also, there's a video tutorial along with this, a separate tutorial on how to use the calculator for the regression. And you can see it's all the way through here, there are 2 pages to it. So that's just following this set of instructions here on the sheet. So far we've looked at how to construct our graph in a graphing calculator. And we ended up with a similar graph as this one here. So that's using your TI-83. Now, on the other hand, if you were to use Desmos, now Desmos is free. It's online. And there is a tutorial on, separate tutorial apart from this video. For any phone, doesn't matter if you're iPhone or Android phone, just do a search for Desmos, D-S-M-O-S. And go to Desmos Graph. And you can go to, I have mine, I can install it, but you can go straight to Desmos, and I'll go Desmos once. Now, to do this, to graph a set of data here, it's a little bit easier than the graphing calculator. So the first step, I want to create a table of this here. So you press, you see the plus sign here. Press that plus sign and go to table. So I'll go to table here. And now I'll enter my X and Y coordinates. You don't have to set any windows in this case, you set your X and Y coordinates. Now it's a little bit tiny here. It's much more comfortable on the computer, but on your phone, we'll enter each one of these. So we press 9. So arrow key there, that's enter. 13, enter. We have 31, 21. 31. Another 31. And the next one is 34. So there I have my X1, which is my X values. Now I want to go over to the Y1. Now I just tap on it here, and I enter my calories. In this case, it's 260. Enter 320. 420. 560. 550. 44 is 590. Now, this is the part where you have to, now I've entered all of my data. I need now to put an equation there. And this is the equation you have to remember. Write it down. The equation is y1 a tilde mx1 plus b. So this is the equation you have to enter. So to enter the equation, if you were to scroll down, you'll see there is a different line in here. It's a box. You tap on it, and you're going to enter this equation here. So where's my y? But then you can say, where's my tilde? Where's this little squiggly here guy? Now you have to press your letter, A, B, C, and it's down here. Put it over again. This is what you'll have by default. I need to get, oh, I forgot to put my 1 in there, so I need to 1, sorry. I need to put my y1. Then, next one is a tilde. Okay, so tilde is not on this screen here. You need to press your ABC, and your tilde is right at the last row here, or below. So press my tilde. Next, you press N, and then you can press X. But we need the 1. So go back here and get 1. Notice we already have our little graph. Plus B, plus, we'll go back here, press B. No, that is our equation. Now we want to see our graph. We want to see this graph here. So I press, there's a plus sign here, kind of a grayed out sign above it. Press that plus sign. And there's our graph. I can actually zoom in and zoom out. And I can go back here. So almost exactly is what I have over here. Now, notice, so this will be, every time you use Desmos for a straight line, you'll have to enter y1 tilde mx1 plus b. And that will give you the line of best fit. Notice it's 100%, almost a correlation, close to 100%. This, when you look at your Desmos, you see this little number at the bottom here that tells me the correlation coefficient. And notice it's close to 1.9995. So it's almost a perfect relationship between the total fat and calories in each sandwiches. So that's how you use Desmos, which is a little bit easier, I must say, than using a graphing calculator. You don't have to worry about finding the equation. So the equation is y is equal to 13.196 plus 144b. So that's where the m is and the b. Our calculator gives us the same value. If you look at my calculator here, I put them side by side. Y is equal to 13.19, 196, same thing, plus 144. So you have the same set of data, either one. It's for you to choose between the two of them, because in grade 12, you will be using the graphing calculator heavily. So it's a good practice in grade 11. So it's getting you ready for grade 11. But if you don't have a graphing calculator, you don't feel you like using it, Desmos is your best alternative right now. It's much simpler. And as you can see, you can move this around. And I'll show you how to find x and y coordinates later on. So for the next set of questions, you do not need to change this equation now. All what you have to look at now is to change your set of data in here, and this graph will change automatically. Compare with the calculator, you have to repeat this process over and over again. Okay. So that's the first example. We'll do one more today, and I'll do the third one, which is here we have height and weight. Following table gives the heights and weights of 10 friends. Draw a sketch of the scatter plot, include the scale and label for each axis. So we look at your scale here. So this will be your X or your Y1. So, sorry, it would be XL1. On the graphing calculator, it's referred to as L1. And this would be Y, the L2 in the graphing calculator. Desmos refers to X and Y. Your scale, we need to go up to the maximum here at 195, so you need to go up to 200. So on your x-axis here, you should go up to 200, your maximum, or as you see, your minimum. And your height, your weight, which is your y, the maximum 94, we'll make that 100. So let's label our x and y axis here first. So we have height here, and that's in centimeters. So we need to get the 200, so we can make this into 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 200. Here's our 10. So we have to extend this a little bit further. 160, 170, 180. Oops. Not equal increment here. Going up, we need 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And this refers to as weight. In kilograms. Now we plot our points. So we have height is 180. So here we have a height of 180. So what is this? Just a little bit of guideline here. Where is that? 180 and 87. So 87. Okay, this is not as straight as it should be. So now from there, I need 87, which should be from here. Makes it 177.55. So 177 or 76 would be about here. And 55. So 55 would be right here. Next, we have 144.52. 144 and 52 would be next you have 195.94. 195.94, which would be about there. 159.87. 185.79. Now I need to 166.59. So 166, which is about here. and 59. Let's see what that be. $173.64, which would be about here. 149.45. And 168.77. 168. Now, if you look at this set of data, there's very little trend. The most you can say there's a slight positive relationship, but it may be random. Notice this looks pretty random here. And if it's random, in other words, there's no pattern, you said there's no correlation. Because it's so random, there's no correlation. You cannot construct a line of best fit here. So we can say here, there's no correlation. Or the most you could say there is a slight positive correlation. And I'll show you the graph here. So, or at best, a slight positive correlation. That's from our graph. So there's slight correlation there, but it's very low correlation between the two of them. Okay, now I'll show you using your calculator how. First, I'm going to plot these points. So I'll clear it in. Now, in this case, what I'll be doing is to go to my graph here, and I want to remove all the set of data. So, but I don't need to. I can reset my calculator, but I'm going to go in here and input the set of data. And by the way, you can go back to your sheet here and follow the instructions here. Have the same sheet here, or this is much clearer. You don't, in this case, you may not want to go reset your calculator yet. You may want to go directly into your data in your list. So go straight to press stat. So we'll go to that. So once you've done the first one, you can continue with the second one by pressing your stat button. Press enter. Now I want to replace a set of data with this new one. So I can go here. There's one way of clearing it, but all what you have to do is to replace your data with this here. So 180, enter. Notice it just replaces it. 176, enter. 144, enter. 195, enter. 159, enter. 185, 166, 173, 149, 168. Make sure you have them all in the order. So 180, 176, 144, 195, 159, 185, 166, 173, 9, and 168. Now I want to move over to my L2. I go up, press my right arrow key here. Then I replace 87, enter, 55, 52, and I continue all the way down. And you have your matching. Now we go to our window, button. And remember, for the X, we went up to 200. So we want to make that up to 0. And we want to make that to 200. And your Y is up to 100. So we can change that. We can make the Y minimum 0, and this would be 200. Press graph. And there are our points here. Pretty same as almost a duplicate of what we just did here. This is more precise. Now, I need to, if I were to construct a line of best fit for this graph, is somewhere in the middle here. We can try it in the calculator and get our correlation coefficient also. So to get our coefficient correlation, so we press your stat button. Let's do a graph calc and go to linear regression. And in this case, you'll get an equation. Then I press my Y button, make sure it's clear, go to vars, go to statistics, then go to EQ. And this will give me my line of best fit. Kind of but it's not a good correlation because it doesn't go through as many. You can say it's a positive correlation. That's why I say the slight positive correlation. Now in Desmos, it's a little bit. I don't have to change anything I have in Desmos here except my data. So I'm going to go here 180. And I'm going to repeat 180, 176. Notice that my points are still there that I had, but a new one will be entered into it. Now, first of all, I should clear my data here. Now, if this happens, it means you need to go back to your home screen. You turn it off, and then I'll turn it back on. Okay, there we go. Notice I'm pressing the delete button at the same time as the enter button. And this will be clear. So I've cleared my clear. Now I'm going to re-enter all of what's the data in my new question 3. 195, we have 159, 185, 166, 173, 149, 160. 168. And then move over to my Y values. I have 87. $55, $52, 94, 87, 79, 59, 64, 40. And the final one is 77. Now I don't need to change the city board. Press my plus sign. Now there's my graph. Notice it's pretty scattered. My line of best fit. Now, if I go to my Desmos, look at the correlation coefficient. It's 0.67, very low correlation. If it's 1, you mean the full it's related. Or the closer to 1, the greater the correlation coefficient. Or it's more a positive. If it was negative, it's a negative correlation. In this case, the positive is a very low or a slight correlation. Now that's using Desmos, which is much less work than using the graphing calculator. But you end up, you can see side by side, you end up with the same result. So let's recap what we've done today. In today's lesson, we're given a set of data, and we have to plot those data on a coordinate plane or Cartesian plane with a proper scale and labeling, and then construct a line of best fit and describe if it's a positive correlation, negative correlation, no correlation, or a random or a constant. In this case, it's a positive correlation because as x increases, y increases. In other words, the trend is going up. Then we use Desmos to graph it using the graphing technology, and also the TI-83. For the graphing calculator instructions, it's on your blog or on the sheet you may have collected it from school. Follow the instructions here. If you need to find about Desmos, you go to the blog and there's a video on how to do exactly as we showed you today. Also, there's another page in the blog that shows you a graphic step-by-step instructions along with this video. And we looked at the third question. So I would like you to try in the question 2, graph it as I showed you on this sketch it on this page, and then use your calculator to see if you can duplicate what you've done here.